Welcome to Leaders on the Rise. I'm Lydia Pierre, founder and CEO of Pierre Branding Group. We help create stories that resonate with audiences to forge unforgettable, unique brand experiences. These stories ultimately become infused with all aspects of the client's branding, thereby turning entrepreneurs into media celebrities by growing their authority and helping them build partnerships with top influencers. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around to the end of the show. We'll reveal to you how you can be our next guest in 15 to 20 minutes. Let's go.
Well, welcome to episode number 1 of Leaders on the Rise. And Lydia Pierre, you are normally the host, and I get to interview you. Congratulations on launching the podcast. I'm so excited for the discussions, the episodes that are about to publish.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for being such a great support system on this endeavor. We're so excited.
Yes, for sure. You are the CEO of Pierre Branding Group. Tell me what you do with Pierre Branding Group.
Well, at Pierre Branding Group, I function as the Senior Director of Brand Management, which basically means that I oversee all of the branding initiatives for all of our clients. I like to have a hands-on approach. So although I'm the CEO, I like to be in it in the trenches with my team. And I love to interact with the clients as well. So I position myself as such so that I could be able to work with them, be alongside them. I go to events with them. It's very, very a personal kind of a relationship that we get to build.
You've worked with a lot of SMBs, and you've also done some work with some pretty big companies. Would you mind just talking a little bit about like what type of work Pierre Branding Group ends up doing? And if you want to drop some names, you're welcome to, or maybe you
Sure. Well, we work a lot in personal branding because we do believe in helping executives and entrepreneurs really position themselves for when they move into that entrepreneurial space and have their small business. So we also help them with that. But mainly our focus is working with those businesses who have been in it for a minute, but they're looking to really just take their brand to that next level. And they're ready for branding services. So we work with them to really help position them for that next level, really helping them overhaul their brand and really hone in on who their market is, what their identity is. It really helped them to get themselves out there. So those small businesses, and we work with also some corporate entities as well. We've had the pleasure of working with some politicians and some really big people.
If you explore around the website, you'll find exactly who Pierre Branding Group's gotten to work with.
Yes. But it's all about having fun. It's about really enjoying what you do and really just learning more about yourself throughout the journey. So that we call it a brand journey because you learn about yourself throughout it, and being able to see our clients not only tap into their greatness, but being able to embrace who they are and really reflect that back in their company and their branding and their messaging. It's really an honor to be able to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the podcast,
Yes.
Leaders on the Rise. For someone who's just stumbled upon it, and now they're going back to episode 1 to say, okay, tell me what this podcast is all about. Lydia, tell us what this podcast is all about.
Of course, Josh. Well, Leaders on the Rise, basically the name is pretty self-explanatory. It's an opportunity for me, the CEO of Pierre Branding Group, who is a leader on the rise, to be able to interview other leaders on the rise, to be able to give those who are listening insight on what it takes to be a leader and to be on the rise, essentially, because we all know that being a leader and being especially an authority in your sector or in your industry, it comes with its challenges, so it's best to kind of hear it from those who've already been there, done that, get some tips and see how you can kind of overcome some of those hurdles that come along the path of becoming the leader or that authority in your sector. So we get to hear from some of these amazing individuals who are doing great things, making big impacts in their industries and in their worlds, and just kind of find out how they did it.
Yeah. And why is that valuable for someone who maybe they might be earlier stage in business and they, they'd love to grow and scale and have a greater impact in the world? How will listening to this podcast inspire that activity or inspire that success?
Mm-hmm. Well, anyone who's followed my journey will know that I'm a big proponent of mentorship. I believe that mentorship is key, especially when it comes to leadership. We even did an initiative called Mentoring for Leadership, where we had quite a few leaders and executives in state level as well as local level, talk to people who are looking to position themselves for success, and they heard their stories and were able to hear how human they were. Because a lot of times people get in these positions of authority and all these big platforms, and you tend to forget that they're human. So you kind of look at their story and what they're doing, and you forget that they had to go through a journey as well to get there. So if they can do it, you can do it. So being able to hear from them what those stories were, what those challenges were, and how they overcame them gives you as an entrepreneur a sense of being able to be empowered and being educated as to how you can do it yourself. Because I mean, imposter syndrome is real. Okay. It's a real thing. So when you're someone who's in business and you're in the trenches yourself, you have those moments where you feel like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know how to get past this plateau or past this point in my career. But then when you hear from others that they went through it as well, and may even still be going through it, it kind of gives you just a sense of, wow, I'm not alone in this. So you're able to just kind of figure out how to move past it. And hearing from these leaders and hearing their stories will really help give you the nuggets and the knowledge to be able to do so.
Yeah. I'm curious, what role does branding play, since that's what you do, in a leader who is on the rise and they're running a company that's going through growth? Why do we need to be cognizant of the brand that we project?
Well, your brand is you. Your brand is who you are. Your brand is basically how you are seen, is the perception and of who you are. It's the first impression you make before they even meet you. So it's like you're being pre-sold. So your brand is basically the foundation, or it's the entity or the identity that people go and seek before they even come in contact with you. So you want to make sure that footprint, whether it's on social media, whether it's conversations people have, whether it's referrals, you want to make sure that reputation that you have is in a good standing, so that when people want to know who they're talking to or why they're talking to you, or even why they should do business with you, your brand kind of speaks for itself. And by the time they meet you, the person, it's just a no-brainer. It's like, yes, of course I want to work with you. I've seen all that you've done, all that you've accomplished. The story is there. The everything is there for them to consume and be able to understand. And by the time they get to you, it just really all makes sense.
Yeah. Who, Lydia, so our listener, what would you say about the guests, like who they are, what they have going on in their life? How do you decide who would make a really great guest for this podcast?
A really great guest for this podcast, of course, is, like we said, someone who's been in the business for quite a while, whether it's 4 to 5 years. We like to have those people who kind of have that experience. That way they can really speak to what it's like to not only be an entrepreneur, but to come through that challenge of that 2-year kind of, the 2-year mark is usually when you feel like I can't do this anymore, but somehow they made it through that. So being able to speak to those people who have been in the business for a while and have had those experiences is really ideal. Also, people who have been able to make or generate revenue about $500K and above. This is because we want to make sure that they are in a position of credibility to really speak to that entrepreneur who's looking to break that ceiling when it comes to that financial stress that comes with being in business. So being able to speak to what it takes to make that kind of revenue of $500K to $1 million in revenue per year really will be valuable to our listeners, because they're trying to break that financial barrier themselves. Also, we want to be sure that we talk to industry leaders and CEOs, because again, we're talking about those who are looking to position themselves as successful CEOs in their industry and in their field. So speaking to those people and having that network and building that, having that access is really, really valuable to our listeners. So that will make our ideal listener, our ideal guest would be someone who is making $500K to $1 million, someone who's been in business for about 4 to 5 years or more, as well as those who are CEOs or the leaders in their business.
Yeah. Awesome. So you could go for anyone. And by the way, those limits that you'd shared, those may change. Yes. The best thing to do would be, Lydia, to go to your website. So go to pierrebrandinggroup.com and then find the link for podcasts. Currently it's under, if you hover over PBG Media, because you guys obviously produce a lot of great content.
Yes, we do.
But you click on podcast and you're going to see there's the page for the podcast Leaders on the Rise. Click on the apply link and cannot wait to share your story. So if you're listening to this right now and you think of someone that you'd love to nominate, just send them right there,
Right.
Lydia. And I'm so excited for this show and the transformation that's going to be able to have on someone who hits subscribe and listens right now. Also, I'll put a plug in, just creator to creator.
Yes.
Reviews really do help.
They do. They absolutely do.
So, Lydia, what's the impact that you desire to make in the world with Pierre Branding Group and with this podcast?
Wow. Well, let's start with Pierre Branding Group. Well, the impact, when I started Pierre Branding Group, the idea was to put together an organization that helps entrepreneurs help entrepreneurs. So our team is made up of amazing entrepreneurs who have their own brands. So as they're helping our clients, they're helping build their own brand and reputation as well, and refining their skill sets. And that was always big to me because when I was building my own brand and learning the ropes, working with other organizations or companies, I didn't like when my brand disappeared. And I didn't like that sense of kind of being absolved by that organization. So I decided when I grow up and I start my own company, I'm going to make sure that we create a company that serves as a platform for creatives and for professionals to not only help other professionals, but to also build their own brand while doing it. So that's kind of the business model behind Pierre Branding Group. And in that sense, it kind of makes sure that our team has a personal investment in every client they work with, because their brand gets to shine as well. So we want to make an impact as a Pierre Branding Group in that space where we help entrepreneurs, help executives, help CEOs, basically. So it's a world where we all uplift each other in this world. We're like family. Yeah. As far as this podcast itself, Leaders on the Rise, I'll be honest, I understand being a brand manager, being someone in the branding space, I understand the value that it adds to my brand, being able to interview and work with CEOs and such, being able to hear their stories and being able to be the platform on which they share those stories. It adds a great deal of value to what Pierre Branding Group and myself bring to the world of branding and marketing. But it also, again, creates a platform where CEOs help other CEOs, professionals help other professionals. So it kind of keeps that core mission that we have going, just kind of keeps it, in perpetuity, just kind of keeps it going. So everything we do, we want it to have that essence of just really helping others position themselves for greatness and embrace who they are. And also a way to be able to highlight and congratulate themselves. We don't do that enough.
Yes. It's okay to take a moment, take a breath and reflect and say, you know what? We have done some good stuff here in the world. Let's talk about that, because that inspires other people. Yeah. And sometimes I know it's and you're in branding, right? And so I would imagine oftentimes you get people that they're maybe shy about sharing their accolades or their impact or the work that they've done in the world and their successes. And it's oftentimes I've seen in the world of branding, it's like, no, let's go ahead and talk about that, because that's attractive. Like other people need to see that. Right.
And like we said, it's motivating, it's inspirational, and just, it takes confidence. It does. It takes a boldness. It takes boldness to be a CEO. So using that same boldness to really just help others by being proud of who you are, proud of what you've become, and being able to share your story of how you did that. It takes a lot to do that. And it's a very great experience to see people embrace that part of themselves and just say, yes, I did that. I am who I say I am.
Yeah. Lydia Pierre, again, founder and CEO of Pierre Branding Group, on the web at pierrebrandinggroup.com. If you could think of, to our listener, if you could think of anyone who would make a great CEO, $500,000 on up, or again, just, at that level, they're doing great stuff in the world. Just have them go to pierrebrandinggroup.com, hover over where it says PBG Media, click on podcast, and they can become a guest right there. Lydia, thank you so much. Congratulations on episode number 1.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I'm so excited about all we're going to be doing with Leaders on the Rise. Lydia here. Thank you so much for listening to Leaders on the Rise. If you are a successful CEO, founder, C-suite executive, decision maker, successful business leader, or an influential entrepreneur who would like to be on this podcast, please visit pierrebrandinggroup.com/podcast to apply. If you got something out of this interview you would like to share on social media, Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag #LeadersOnTheRise. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they mean so much to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, pierrebrandinggroup.com, or follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram at Lydia Pierre _. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.